It's all covered in today's China Truths.
This is not my home anymore. This isn't your home anymore. This isn't our home anymore. Shall I help you click like? Thank you. Say goodbye to our home, sweetheart.
Life and death are what they are, but I truly feel so much pain inside. I can't bear to sell this place, but there's no other choice. A mortgage to buy a house makes sense. You don't have enough money, so you borrow some. But taking a loan just to sell a house, that's something that completely overturns people's understanding of wealth. Still, it's understandable. The money from selling the house isn't enough to pay off the mortgage, so I have to borrow more money just to cover the original loan before I can close the deal. Those who now take loans to sell their houses are the same people who once took loans to buy them. After years of paying both principal and interest, they suddenly find that their homes are worth less than the remaining mortgage. If they can still sell, fine. It's better than being stuck with a house no one wants. Who knows what collateral the banks are even using for these secondary loans? Maybe they're just taking the houses back themselves. I don't know. Are you happy or sad when buying a house? For me, it's only sadness. I'm no longer the owner here. People used to take out loans to buy homes, but now, as a landlord, I have to take out a loan just to sell one. Last year, someone approached me to sell a 109 square meter apartment in Zhonghai, Huaiyue. It was listed for 1.2 million yuan, about 11,000 yuan per square meter. The price wasn't bad, but I knew it wouldn't sell because he still owed 1.1 million on the loan. Sure enough, by October this year, it still hadn't sold. Now he tells me he's willing to drop it to 960,000 yuan, saying it would sell at that price. But how? He still owes 1.1 million. Even if it sells, he'd still need to raise tens of thousands more just to make up the difference. In the neighborhood behind me, those who bought around 2021 are now facing losses of 700,000 to 800,000 yuan on 90 square meter units. For larger homes, the loss is easily over $1 million. Today, a homeowner came to sell his apartment. He bought it 2 years ago for nearly 1.5 million yuan, paid 450,000 down, and still owes 800,000. But now, the home's value has dropped so much that his 2 years of effort and half a lifetime savings are gone. It's ironic. In the past, people couldn't afford to buy houses. Now they can't afford to sell them. Families emptied 6 wallets, gritted their teeth, and took on 30-year loans, thinking they had finally got on the train. But it turned out to be a bottomless pit. Now people list their houses for half a year with barely any views. When a buyer finally appears, their first words are a drastic price cut. Sell it and it's still not enough to pay the bank. The down payment is gone, the monthly payments are gone, youth is gone, and in the end you still owe the bank hundreds of thousands. As China's economy continues to decline, with falling incomes and rising unemployment, many people are forced to stop payments and sell their homes. Loan-based house sales have become a bizarre new phenomenon across the mainland. Not long ago, people complained they couldn't afford to buy. Now they can't afford to sell. A man who paid a 100,000 yuan down payment and took a 200,000 yuan loan now finds his property worth only 140,000. If he sells, he still owes the bank 300,000. He doesn't know whether to sell and take the loss or keep waiting, hoping for a miracle. Home values have dropped by 600,000 yuan. The down payment is gone. The mortgage is gone. You told me not to buy, but I just wanted a home. Was that wrong? I can't bear it anymore. Let it all collapse. These were the words of a homeowner in Huangpu District's Shidi Ivy residence. Why would someone say something so desperate? Just look at the numbers. A 70 square meter apartment recently sold for 830,000 yuan. The same layout was worth 2.16 million yuan in 2021. Who wouldn't tremble at such a drop? Many people are still in the dark. To be honest, houses these days simply don't sell. No one wants them. You can barely see anyone at the sales offices. For second-hand homes, cutting prices by 100,000 or even 300,000 yuan has become normal. Even discounts can't attract buyers anymore. This is the harsh reality of China's housing market right now. Our house really can't be sold. We bought it in 2019 for 1.34 million yuan in Shaoxing, Zhejiang. Now second-hand homes are selling at rock-bottom prices. Through the agent, we first listed it at 1 million, then dropped it to 800,000. Almost no one came to look. If you have a mortgage, even if you starve, you still have to keep paying it back early. My loan was 400,000 yuan, and my monthly payment is over 1,900 yuan. I've been paying for 3 or 4 years. Recently, we had a bit of extra cash, so I told my partner, why don't we just pay off the loan completely? It'll take the pressure off. But guess what? When I went to the bank, they told me my loan balance was still over 380,000 yuan. Isn't that the bank fooling ordinary people? If you have a loan, never trust the person who sells it to you when they tell you what the rate is. Check it yourself in your banking app. If the numbers don't match, don't believe them. I don't understand how people can be so deceitful. A few years ago, I bought my place for over 2 million yuan. Now I'm trying to sell it for 1.3 million, and no one wants it. I still owe more than 1 million on the loan, paying over 5,000 a month, with 28 years left. If I sold now, I'd maybe get just enough to cover the loan, which means my 700,000 yuan down payment would be gone for nothing. In the end, both the house and the money would be gone. I've cried my eyes dry over this home. My monthly payment is over 3,700 yuan, and after 5 years, I still owe 640,000. But my home is now worth only 540,000. My loan is more expensive than the house itself. Every day, I'm just working for the bank. What's the point of all my hard work anymore? Despite what the Chinese Communist Party keeps saying, that only low-end housing prices are falling and luxury homes in big cities remain stable, the reality is that even high-end apartments in prime locations can't resist the downward spiral. In August, Beijing saw the steepest drop in home prices, ranking first among 70 cities nationwide. Shanghai and Guangzhou were also among the top 10. According to statistics shared on social media, China has sold a total of 225 million homes in the past 20 years, 184 million of which were sold after 2009. About 117 million were sold between 2015 and 2021, and 71 million just between 2018 and 2021. This means that roughly half of all property owned by Chinese citizens was purchased during the 6 years of skyrocketing prices, and 1/3 was bought at the very peak. Around 75% of Chinese household wealth is tied to real estate. So if housing prices collapse, at least 120 million people could suddenly fall from wealthy to broke. In 2023, official data showed China had 600 million buildings, nearly one house for every 2 people, exposing the massive problem of oversupply. Economists say that in any normal economy, everything comes down to supply and demand. But China's biggest problem today is demand. There isn't any. The property market has collapsed, and all kinds of consumption are plummeting. Add to that a distorted population structure caused by the one-child policy, 6 elderly people for every 1 child, and the next generation simply doesn't need that many houses anymore.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
Here's the shocker. 90 million homes in China, 95% of them sitting empty. Sounds unbelievable, right? Sure, that number might be hyped up, but it shines a spotlight on a disaster that is all too real. China is drowning in ghost cities, millions of apartments standing lifeless, and endless rows of skyscrapers haunting the horizon. This isn't just about housing. It's a ticking social, economic, and even environmental time bomb that could shake families, banks, in the global economy. Stick with me, because we're about to dig into just how deep this hole goes and what might erupt next. The real face of China's ghost cities. The official count already shows 7.2 million new apartments with no buyers, but experts warn the actual number of vacant homes may be closer to 65 to 90 million. That's enough to shelter an entire country like Germany. And these aren't just scattered empty buildings, they're whole districts. Imagine brand new highways, glowing neon malls, and high-rise skylines built for millions, but with only silence. In Tianducheng near Hangzhou, a near-perfect copy of Paris stands eerily still, complete with its own Eiffel Tower. In Inner Mongolia's Ordos, The Kangbashi district was built to house 1 million people, but barely tens of thousands live there. Stadiums, libraries, and government buildings rise proudly and stand empty. What you're seeing is not quirky architecture. It's the fallout of a system addicted to overbuilding. Local officials, desperate to inflate GDP, sold land like candy. Developers, armed with cheap loans, rushed to build faster than anyone could buy. The cost? Wasted trillions in steel, concrete, and public funds. Every dark window isn't just an empty room, it's a broken promise. And behind these lifeless skylines lies a storm waiting to break. So how did China end up building cities no one lives in? The roots run deep. For decades, local governments relied on selling land rights to fill their budgets. It became the go-to trick for showing economic growth. Developers thrived not because people needed homes, but because speculation was irresistible. Borrow big, build fast, sell high. That was the game. But by the late 2010s, the debt piles grew monstrous. In 2020, Beijing hit the brakes with the 3 red lines policy, cutting developers off from easy loans. Overnight, giants like Evergrande and Country Garden began to unravel, leaving behind half-built towers and furious buyers. But money isn't the only problem. China is aging fast, birth rates are collapsing, and young people facing low wages and job insecurity are avoiding homeownership altogether. The cultural obsession with buying property is fading. Just when supply hit historic highs, demand collapsed. Developers were left with entire forests of unsold towers, while more and more families chose to rent or stay with parents. This isn't just a housing issue, it's the engine of China's growth stalling out, suffocated by debt, demographics, and decades of warped incentives. The fallout nobody can escape. This crisis isn't just about buildings, it's about people. Millions who bought homes at sky-high prices now find themselves trapped. They took out 30-year mortgages, expecting their apartments to rise in value. Instead, they're watching their wealth evaporate. In cities like Zhengzhou and Xi'an, apartments once worth 1 million yuan now sell for half that. Families owe more than their homes are worth, and there's no easy way out. The collapse has rippled outward, gutting industries that fed off the housing boom. Real estate touches over 60 different sectors, from cement and glass to home appliances and banking. In 2024 alone, hundreds of suppliers went bankrupt, and waves of layoffs hit construction workers, decorators, and furniture makers. Banks are now staring at massive risks. More than 70% of collateral in China's loan system is tied to property. As values plunge, the stability of the entire financial system wobbles. Credit is tightening, and small businesses are suffocating. The social cost is even more devastating. Jobless migrants are leaving the cities in droves, heading back to villages. Young professionals are giving up on the dream of urban success. Middle-class confidence is collapsing. What we're witnessing isn't just a real estate slowdown. It's a breakdown of trust, livelihoods, and the social contract that held the country together. Ghost cities may look like silent concrete shells, but they're far from dormant. Behind those dark windows, electricity is still flowing, elevators still humming, and water systems still running, all without a single family inside. The numbers are staggering. Empty apartments across China pump out an estimated 55 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. That's nearly 7% of the entire country's residential emissions, pollution on the scale of whole provinces generated by homes no one even lives in. Why does this happen? It's baked into the system. Developers designed new districts to show off political ambition and modern progress, installing full lighting, heating, and water pressure from day one. The hope was that people would move in, but when the crowds never came, the infrastructure stayed alive anyway, devouring power and wasting resources with zero return. This invisible pollution is perhaps the most dangerous kind, hidden, unspoken, but massive. Unlike smoggy highways or smoking factories, you won't see it, but it's there, silently undermining China's climate pledges to peak emissions by 2030 and hit carbon neutrality by 2060. Without tackling these idle towers, every promise of sustainability risked becoming nothing more than words.